You've probably seen it on your phone, a little setting called night mode, night shift, night light, or eye comfort mode. Turn it on, and suddenly your screen looks warmer, sometimes almost yellow or orange. But what is actually happening? Is your phone really protecting your eyes? Does it remove blue light? And can turning it on actually help you sleep? The answer is a little more interesting than simply, it blocks blue light. Night mode changes the way your display produces color, and it was designed primarily to make screens more comfortable to use when the sun goes down. But how useful it really is depends on what you're doing with your phone, and how bright that screen is in the first place. So, let's get into it, right here, on History of Simple Things. The idea behind modern night mode didn't appear overnight. Software that automatically changed a computer display's color temperature had already existed for years, with programs such as F.Lux becoming popular for adjusting screens according to the time of day. Then smartphone manufacturers began building similar features directly into their operating systems. Apple introduced Night Shift with iOS 9.3 in 2016, while Google's Android ecosystem developed Night Light, which reduces blue light and shifts the display toward warmer colors. Android system implementation became available starting with Android 7.1.1, so this wasn't just a cosmetic trend. It was based on the growing realization that the light coming from our screens could interact with the body's natural day and night cycle. When night mode is activated, your phone isn't physically putting a tiny filter over the screen. Instead, the software changes the color output of the display. Blue wavelengths are reduced relative to warmer colors, so whites can appear yellowish, orange, or reddish. Think of your normal screen as mixing red, green, and blue light to create different colors. Night mode changes that balance. It turns down some of the shorter wavelength blue component, making the overall image warmer. Apple describes Night Shift as automatically moving display colors toward the warmer end of the spectrum, while Android's Night Light similarly reduces the amount of blue light emitted by the display. That's why your screen suddenly looks strange when you first turn it on. Nothing is broken. You're seeing the same images with a different color balance. Here's where things get interesting. Your body doesn't have a simple sleep switch. It has an internal biological clock, known as the circadian rhythm, which uses environmental signals, including light, to help determine when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. Blue-rich light can be particularly effective at signaling daytime to the brain. Exposure to bright light in the evening can interfere with the normal timing of the body's sleep system. That's one reason manufacturers designed night mode to reduce blue light after sunset. Apple specifically notes that exposure to bright blue light in the evening can affect circadian rhythms and make falling asleep more difficult. But there's an important catch. Night mode doesn't magically cancel out all the effects of using your phone at bedtime. Imagine you're lying in bed at midnight with night mode enabled, but your screen is still extremely bright and you're watching videos, reading messages, checking the news, and scrolling for another hour. Your phone is still producing light and you're still keeping your brain engaged. So while reducing blue light can reduce one part of the problem, it doesn't necessarily make late-night screen use harmless. In fact, brightness matters enormously. A warm orange screen blasting light directly into your face can still be much more stimulating than a dim screen. That's why night mode works best when combined with lower brightness and sensible screen habits. So, what about your eyes? This is another place where night mode is often misunderstood. Night mode isn't a medical treatment for your eyes, and it doesn't prevent all forms of digital eye strain. When you're staring at a screen for a long time, you tend to blink less. Your eyes can become dry, and constantly focusing at the same distance can leave them feeling tired. Changing the color temperature may make a screen more comfortable in a dark room, especially because the warmer display can feel less harsh. Google specifically describes nightlight as making screens easier to use in dim light. But that doesn't mean blue light from your phone is damaging your eyes simply because it's blue. Night mode is primarily about comfort and nighttime light exposure, not repairing or protecting your eyes from permanent screen damage. And here's a common source of confusion. Night mode and dark mode are not necessarily the same thing. Night mode, such as night shift or night light, changes the color temperature of the display. Dark mode changes the appearance of the interface, replacing bright backgrounds with darker ones. You can actually use both at the same time. Dark mode can reduce the amount of bright content you're looking at, while night mode shifts the remaining colors toward warmer tones. On some OLED displays, dark interfaces can also reduce power consumption because individual pixels can produce less or no light when displaying black. So if you've ever wondered why your phone has both settings, that's why they aren't redundant. Does it really help you sleep? The honest answer is it can help reduce one potential source of nighttime light exposure, but it isn't a guarantee of better sleep. The relationship between screen light and sleep is more complicated than the simple claim that blue light keeps everyone awake. The intensity of the light, how long you're exposed to it, what you're doing on the device, and your individual sensitivity all matter. That's why turning on night mode while continuing to stare at a bright screen for hours isn't necessarily the solution. A better approach is to let night mode automatically activate around sunset, reduce your brightness, and eventually put the phone away when you're actually ready to sleep. So, should you turn it on? For most people, there's little reason not to. If the warmer color doesn't bother you, scheduling night mode for the evening is an easy way to make your screen less harsh in a dark environment. Apple and Android both allow these settings to be scheduled automatically around nighttime. But don't think of that little orange screen as a magic shield. Night mode isn't removing every possible problem caused by a late-night phone use. It's simply changing the type and balance of light coming from your display. And perhaps that's the simplest way to understand it. Your phone isn't making nighttime disappear. It's making its screen behave a little more like nighttime. So the next time your screen suddenly turns yellow at sunset, you'll know exactly what's happening. It's not your phone going bad. It's your phone changing the recipe for light. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.